Thanks for watching another Taproot root cause analysis webinar. I'm here with Amy Saunders, and today she's going to talk about something specific about procedures.
Yes.
So if you're familiar with Taproot, if you've taken a course and you're following along with your root cause tree, we're looking at procedures and management system. If you have no idea what we're talking about, we've also got some helpful information in here that will give some insights into improving procedures and why that's important. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away, Amy.
Sure, absolutely. I think first it's important to start with the definition of a procedure in Taproot. Could be a little bit different than maybe what you're thinking, but the definition is a written step-by-step description of a particular task that is read and followed while the work is being done. I bet you're probably familiar with a pre-flight checklist. I've never done one, but I've boarded a plane and seen a pilot and a co-pilot going through lists and checking things off in procedures. That is what a Taproot procedure is. Something that is read and checked off and done as the work is being performed.
Oh, but these people fly multiple times a day. Why do they need to use a procedure? Why? I mean, it's the same stuff. Why need it? That's just a checklist. I'm too busy. I already know what I'm doing.
Well, for things that are high risk, high consequence, things that you want to make sure that you don't forget something, you want to make sure that it's accurate and correct and done correctly. A procedure can be very helpful in helping to stop human error. So it is a best practice, especially for things that can become so routine that you might miss a step because you're just so used to that routine. There's lots of reasons why procedures are valuable, and we'll talk about some of that today.
A little bit about formatting and what makes the best procedure out there. So, all right.
So procedures are important, especially a well-written procedure. A well-written procedure can help stop human error. And that's because a well-written procedure can take something that is a knowledge-based task and make it more of a task that you can complete without extensive knowledge.
Yeah.
So you're taking that knowledge of that task and proceduralizing it so someone can go through and step by step perform that task or process successfully without having extensive knowledge because you've built it into that process. So it can be very helpful in stopping human error if it is written and written well. But there are issues with procedures. Often when we're teaching a Taproot class and we're investigating and looking into an incident, you find procedural issues. And usually if you do, it's because of two main areas. And we'll talk about those two main areas. The first one is technical. You can have technical issues that are causing errors in your procedure.
Okay, what's an example of a technical error that someone might experience?
If your procedure's written incorrectly, that is a technical error that's going to cause someone to make a human error because the procedure's not written correctly.
Okay, so like maybe a part changed and the procedure still has the old part information on there, wasn't updated.
Sure.
Okay.
And then the second area that we'll get into a little bit later is in the management system. You can have things that aren't correct in your management system, and that's what's causing problems with your procedures too.
Okay.
So we're going to get into that one too as well.
All right.
So issues. We talked about technical and how you can have technical things that are inaccurate with your procedures, and that can be a problem. The first one is procedures are not being used or followed. If you are seeing that your procedures aren't being used or followed, there could be a technical reason for that. Also, your procedures are wrong. If your procedures are wrong, you are definitely going to have some issues with people following those procedures. And then the third one is if procedures are being followed incorrectly. Those are the three main categories under procedures, under the technical piece that can cause problems.
So a procedure exists, but it's not being used or followed. it's wrong or it's followed incorrectly.
Yep.
Okay.
So if we have a technical issue with our procedures, we're going to have to go investigate and find out what is wrong with it, technically wrong, that is causing people to have human error, right? So we go out and we investigate, and one of the things we're going to want to know is who wrote the procedure. Oftentimes in our Taproot courses, we'll ask a class of students how many people have written or will write a procedure for their company. And oftentimes a lot of folks raise their hand and have written a procedure. And then we'll ask the question, how many people have been technically trained in writing a procedure? And a lot of hands go down.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there writing procedures that have never been trained in the correct technical formatting techniques for writing a procedure. So if you haven't been trained, what do? You just go find a procedure that looks good and you try to copy that as best you can.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And learning on the job, right? We all do that. And sometimes that works okay, and sometimes that causes technical issues with your procedures. So knowing who the writer is, and if it's someone who has been technically trained or not, or someone who does or does not have field experience, knowing those kinds of things can be important because you might have issues with your procedure based on who was writing it.
Is there a better idea of kind of who should be in charge of doing that? Is it something that falls with HR, or does it need to be field related, or somebody in a supervisory role, or does it depend on the industry?
It's going to depend, but having someone that has some formal training in procedure writing is important.
Gotcha.
And also making sure that those procedures are field tested so you know that what you're writing is actually going to work. And then another piece is agreement too.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways you can do things, and making sure that you are proceduralizing the best practice that your company wants. So if you're in charge of writing that procedure and you have done it one way for however long, is that the best way to be doing it? Or are there other ways that work can be done that need to be incorporated into that procedure? So you want to make sure you're using the best approach, and you want to make sure that it's field tested, and that you're sure the company is wanting it to be done that way, the safest way, right?
That makes a lot of sense. I think there's probably some companies out there too, maybe different departments write procedures and they may not align. So you want to make sure that there's uniformity among the procedures as well. These are helpful, very helpful tips.
Another thing that you're going to want to find out when you're investigating and digging into these technical procedure issues is tribal knowledge. There is a lot of tribal knowledge out there at everyone's company, and you want to make sure that you are capturing that tribal knowledge into your procedures. It shouldn't just be one guy knows how to do this. You need to get that proceduralized so everyone can learn that, and it becomes common knowledge and common best practice in your company.
Sounds easy, but I know there's probably a lot of people who try to keep that to themselves, or this is the way I've done it, this is my way. Hopefully it's not like that at your company, but I do know, like even in construction, you've got different trades and things, and people have a way of doing things that they want to kind of like hang on to, or they've got things that make it, unique to them. So there's a lot of trust in that too, to kind of share that tribal knowledge and just make sure that you never know what could happen from one day to the next, and that information is dispersed and captured. Yeah, and so when you're looking at these procedures and evaluating them, you also want to think about things about how high risk a task is or a process is, how high consequence it is. And things that, of course, are high risk and high consequence, you want to make sure you have more detailed, simplified, easy procedures to make sure that it's followed correctly and easy to follow. You're also going to want to think about the experience level of the people who are doing the work. A best practice when you're looking at evaluating these procedures is to have procedures that can work for someone who's new to that process or task or industry,
and someone who's experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So we teach in our 5-day class to take a look at those procedures and make sure that maybe you're adding in graphics along with those step-by-step tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Add in graphics for people who might have less experience so they can not only read what they're supposed to do, but visually see what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, your more experienced operator may not need as much level of detail, but they still have the step-by-step for
That
them
makes
to
perfect sense. I
go through the
buy
process.
some things online and I need to assemble them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't even come with instructions and got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I always appreciate the procedures, if you will, that come along with the picture, so well, this is where the pin goes, this goes here,
Mm-hmm.
and it just makes it so much easier, so much smoother.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're dealing with things beyond what you buy online,
Mm-hmm.
the high risk, things like that, then that makes perfect sense that anybody could pick that up and be able to follow along and know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have to know what kind of environment and people are going to be doing the work. We had an incident, an example of this really here just this week. We have a little write-up on how to register on the website. And when we look at it internally, it's easy for us. It's our website.
Makes sense. We see it all the time.
We see it all the time.
Yeah.
And we were talking about using this same little write-up and sending it to clients that speak Spanish. And sending a write-up in English to clients that have never used our website and speak Spanish, that's not going to work well. And so we realized that we needed to take our simple instructions and we needed to proceduralize it and make it a step-by-step document that you could follow along while you're registering on the website. And we needed to add in those screenshots so it would be easier for people to understand. And we needed to have it in Spanish since the client spoke Spanish. So you have to think about those things. All of those technical issues can cause human error while work is being done. So under our procedure category on our tree, we have 23 root causes.
Oh my goodness, 23?
23 that are technical reasons why a procedure could be inaccurate. And each and every single one of those root causes is very fixable. And we have a corrective action helper that once you find your root cause, you can go to the corrective action helper and it will give you specific ideas to correct that procedure and make it so it is technically sound and easy to follow.
I love that.
Yeah, it really helps an investigator. So I mentioned the technical piece, that is one of the reasons why you could be having problems with your procedures and see it come up a lot in your root cause analysis. Another reason you could be having procedural issues could be due to your management system. And so your management system, it's a set of policies, procedures, processes that a company uses to ensure that it can fulfill the tasks required to achieve its objectives. So that's what we mean when we talk about management systems. And we have a management system category on our root cause tree. And you could have some technical, some management issues that could be leading to procedure issues.
All right. So there's an acronym that we use. What you're leaning to here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we defined what a procedure is, step-by-step instructions that are followed while doing the work. If it's not that, it could be what we classify as a policy, a standard, an administrative control. Those types of things are also looked at under management systems too as well. So management systems, we all are familiar with leadership by example, right? So the management team shows employees what is important to them by what they communicate, by enforcement, by holding people accountable, by doing audits and evaluations. When management takes the time to do that, it really shows employees, okay, these are the things that are important to the company and important to my manager. And those things are typically done if it's important in a company.
It's going to vary on what they put the emphasis on or what they value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if a procedure is important to a company, it should be communicated and communicated widely and communicated with frequency. People should be held accountable for the procedure. It should be enforced. And we should be doing audits or evaluations if this is something that is important to management. And if we aren't doing those types of things, it could be that that procedure is not going to be implemented in the way the company intended it to.
Right.
Okay. So when you're looking at your management system and potential issues, you're going to start asking the questions in the dictionary, and you're going to start digging into things like enforcement of the procedure. Has it been lax? Are managers and supervisors just turning a blind eye to people not doing a procedure correctly? You're going to want to look at things about, have we put a reward in place that inadvertently encourages people to not use a procedure? And you think about things like production goals. You know, you decide to give a team an extra bonus or incentive if they can increase production. Right. Well, in order to increase that production, they're going to have to figure out a way to do it. And unintended consequence could possibly be that maybe they stop using a procedure to speed up the work or get it done a little bit faster. You know, that unintended consequence could now cause human error that people may have not thought about. So these are the types of questions that you're investigating and looking into. Another one is, was the issue not detected or corrected by an adequate audit program? If you want to make sure something is being done and done correctly, it needs to be audited and evaluated. Are we doing that at the company, or is it something that hasn't been checked, hasn't been audited, and therefore people are not doing?
It's a lot of consistency. That's what I'm hearing is.
Yes, if it's important to you, you're going to want to communicate those things and audit those things and hold people accountable.
Absolutely.
For that too as well. We have a section in the corrective action helper under the enforcement needs improvement on the tree. That section in the corrective action helper is the longest section in the book.
In the entire book?
In the entire book.
Okay.
Because enforcement needs improvement is incredibly important, but it's something that can be difficult to fix. And so we give lots of tips about how to do that, to make sure that we are enforcing things correctly for procedures. And we talk a lot about soon, certain, and positive, and making sure that employees are getting that feedback quickly, that they know they're going to get that feedback in a timely fashion, and that it's positive feedback that they're getting for when they do things accurately and correctly and by the procedure. So if employees know that they are going to receive feedback that is soon, certain, and positive, that will encourage people to follow those procedures and implement them correctly and take the time to do that. But like I said, under our corrective action helper, there's multiple pages that you can read to come up with ideas for that enforcement needs improvement root cause.
Soon, certain, positive.
Yes, we want to be soon, certain, and positive.
Okay.
Absolutely. So those are the two areas where if you're having issues with your procedures, to really dig into the technical piece of things and your management system too. You want to make sure that you're investigating those two areas to clean up and correct any of those procedure issues.
That's very insightful. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, if you have other questions about the procedures, if you're interested in a course, Amy's always available by phone or email. We can put that up on the screen. And then I think something we want to also let our watchers know of, what's the next step?
If you like talking about this topic as much as I do and are interested in learning more about procedures, I would say the two best courses, our 5-day course, we really dig into the procedure section under the tree and management system too. So we talk a lot about procedure writing and procedure issues in the 5-day course.
Mm-hmm.
Also, our Stopping Human Error course too is an excellent course for those issues. I know you and I were just sitting in on a course and had the experience of using different procedures to defuse a bomb. Remember that?
Not a real one.
Not
it
a
was
real
an
one.
exercise. I do.
Thank goodness, because there were several people in the room that were not able to use the procedure to disbomb their bomb.
20 seconds. We were
Oh yeah, we crushed it, but and that was because
we had visuals.
Yes,
and it was broken down step by step, and of course it differs for each industry. But I think the more clear, concise communication, the visuals. Hopefully, there's people who aren't disarming bombs every day that have to sit there and
yes, I hope
put the X here. But that was a great exercise.
Yes,
on procedures. So.
Yes, or our Stopping Human Error course is another great one if you're interested in learning more about procedures. It's a lot of fun. So,
well, thanks again, Amy.
Well,
we'll
thank
put
you.
links down below for the 2 courses she mentioned, and then we also have our summit. It's our annual conference where we have keynote speakers and workshops, and so that's another place where you can get those 2 courses, but also meet people across multiple industries, taproot users. It's going to be a great time. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll have a link for that as well, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.